about one particular program of Springboard for the Arts today called Community Supported Art. In addition to the work that I do at Springboard, I run the front of the house resource center. I do some consultations, but I also help administer this particular program. It's a program that's about 2.5 years old, so let's just get right into it, I guess. Ooh, look at that, a program of Springboard for the Arts and eminartist.org. I can't see the slides that are going to come next, so I'm going to be as surprised as you all. Oh, good. Well, whoever put this slideshow together was really thinking ahead. CSA is, I think at its heart, kind of a marketing program. All right, so you're an artist, okay? You make work. You make physical work. You make paintings. You make sculptures. You make statues. You make woodwork. Whatever you do. Now, what you have to do is get that work out to people that want to buy it. Well, there's lots of different ways to do that, obviously. You know, you can show it in galleries, you can sell it on your website, you can put out a newsletter, you know, all those sorts of accepted ways of getting your work out there. Now, the thing is, there's a whole mass of people out there that, for one reason or another, are just not used to buying art. It's just not something that they think of in the same way that they think of buying, like, you know, groceries or furniture or televisions or whatever it is people buy. You know, because they think that maybe the art world is too exclusive, or maybe they know what kind of art they like, but they don't know where to find it. Maybe they don't know any artists, heaven forfend. There are all sorts of reasons why people don't buy art. So what CSA is basically is a patron education program. It is a way to get art that is being made by artists in a community out to a large pool of people that might not be in the habit of buying art. And ideally what it does is creates a relationship between those artists and those people in the community, where they get a small taste of what the artists are doing and they say, wow, this is really interesting. I'd like to know more. I'd like to make a studio visit. So that's basically what CSA is. So I'm going to kind of talk about how that program, you know, operates, what we do at Springboard, and what's been done, you know, across the rest of the country. Basically, to start with, it's a self-sustaining economic model. All the money that goes into CSA, for the most part, goes to artists. It's not really something that works as a fundraiser. It basically takes money that people would be spending on art. Obviously, there's some administrative costs that have to be taken into consideration, but for the most part, that money goes right back to the artists. So $1,000 go in, $1,000 come out. $1,000 come in, $1,000 go out, $1,000 come in. It's meant to be completely kind of self-sustaining. So that's the first part of it. The second part is building an authentic connection between food and art communities. When this program was conceived of 2.5 years ago, it was by a person that was working at Springboard and a person that works at eminartist.org, which some of you may know about. It's a website that allows Minnesota artists to put their work on the web. So we were talking about patron education. They were saying if only there was something like an agricultural CSA that could work for artists. Because if you're familiar with an agricultural CSA, you put in some money, the money goes straight to a farmer, the farmer grows some vegetables, makes some cheese, milks some cows, does whatever the farmer does, and at the end of the season, all of it goes back to you. So it creates a direct relationship between you, the consumer, and the farmer without any kind of middle person. And so we were thinking that way with artists. How can we create that same relationship? And we realized, well, you know what? We'll just do a CSA, except instead of vegetables, we'll do art, which is oversimplifying things a little bit, but is generally kind of the way it has worked. So it kind of takes those food models that people have an understanding of, and especially in rural communities. I mean, people in rural communities understand that, cheese and milks and vegetables come from a farm, and they know, that when you're putting money into the hands of a farmer, that's going to be a good thing for, everybody. So it was this way to kind of take a model that has worked in agriculture and apply it to the arts. It builds authentic connections between artists and people that like art. Notice I didn't say they're patrons, which can be kind of a loaded word. I mean, you think like opera glasses and pearls and things like that. A patron is anybody that is willing to buy art, that is willing to make that jump from liking art, enjoying art, to wanting to have that art in their life. And so CSA is basically a way to create that connection. So how does this all work? Well, I'm glad you asked, slideshow. Let me tell you. I'm going to run you through the whole kind of operation really beat by beat here. First, there's an open call for work. Okay, so there's the organization, Springboard for the Arts, MN Artists, or maybe it's just an individual artist that wants to run a CSA in their community. There's an open call for work. The word goes out and says, we're doing a CSA project. We need 9 artists to create 50 pieces of work for this project. Apply within. That's the first step. The second step is to take a jury of food and art luminaries from the community to kind of look at the art and see what art is going to be involved. The people that are from the food community, I mean, they can be anybody from, farmers, but preferably people that have some kind of a relationship with the art community. There's obviously a great deal of crossover, as we saw in the earlier presentation about the barn. There's a lot of crossover in the art and food community. So, a lot of the times the people that are best served on that jury are people that are some intersection there. Whether they're food writers or, whether they're people that, work on a farm but also have some kind of a studio practice. You get together a jury of them to go through the work that you've got. And last of all, they select 9 artists. So of all the call for work, you get 9 artists that are going to be making work. They're going to make, and this can vary a lot depending on kind of your community and depending on your needs. The way that we've done it, we have had 9 artists make 50 pieces of work. And we can look at what some of that work might be like or might look like. Those 50 pieces of work go into 50 different shares, and each of those shares is sold to 50 different people for $300 each. And so, that money comes in, and then the artists get a $1,000 stipend for creating those 50 pieces of work. So, right there, $1,000 stipend, and they make 50 pieces of work. Then 50 people buy a share for $300 each. All right, so $300, come in, and it has to be 50 people. Actually, I put this slideshow together last year, and I think that I have softened a little bit on the no fewer than 50. It could probably be less than 50 depending on what you're able to do in terms of your capacity. But the thing is, everybody the shares have to sell out. You have to sell all of them. And in the case of Springboard, 50. So 50 shares of $300 each comes out to $15,000. 9 artists are paid $1,000 each, and so that's $9,000 of that $15,000. So then you've got $2,000 for staff time, $750 for boxes and packaging materials, $1,500 for 3 pack-up events, $200 for lunch for your panelists or your jurists, $500 for printing and promo materials, $1,500 for logos, design, marketing, etc., which comes out to $15,000. That's that self-sustaining economic part. $15,000 out, $15,000 in. The majority of which is going to the artists. So I've got some images now of what that actually looks like when you've got 9 pieces of art in 50 shares that are going to 50 different people for $300. And this is where it really helps to have kind of nice packaging material. So it looks like kind of an attractive package that people want to buy. Typically we've separated the work into flat work as well as 3-dimensional work. The 3-dimensional work can go in crates. The flat work can kind of go in portfolios like this. And that's been all kinds of different work. This was a piece by an artist named Jennifer Davis. This was 50 screen prints. The 50 pieces of work don't have to be original pieces. They certainly can be. But if you're a screen printer, if you're a bookmaker, if you're a printer of some kind, and you work in multiples, you can certainly do that. This was an edition of 50 prints that the artist did in collaboration with a local printers co-op. Ceramics obviously work really well. This was an artist named Maren Klopman that was in 2 of the shares that we did. I should say that we've done 4 seasons of this. We did 2 seasons in 2010, 1 in 2011, and 1 this year that just wrapped up in 2012. And so Maren Klopman made 50 pieces of her ceramic work that you can see right here. Amy Rice is a multimedia artist. I think these were stenciled with some kind of handwritten qualities to them as well. It was these prints that she did on old farm journals. So each piece was completely unique, of course, because the base, the ground, was different each time. And she did these stencils on top of them. I think they were like 6 by 9, and she packaged them, really nicely in cellophane. This is an example of how a multiple can work. This was an artist named Rich Barlow. He does a lot of work with the majestic deer and the Scottish Glen, and created this design, and then used his $1,000 stipend to have these belt buckles made. The idea was that you would see people around town wearing these belt buckles, and you would know that, oh, that's another CSA shareholder. Kind of this secret clubhouse kind of quality. But obviously, Rich Barlow did not sit in his basement and make 50 belt buckles by hand. He was able to do it. He was able to farm that work out and have multiples made. And of course, that's that completely falls in the spirit of the project. It's a unique piece that you're not going to see anywhere else. This is a fellow named Alex Kuno, who is a painter and who, in fact, took it upon himself to make 50 completely unique paintings. He called me in the middle of a nervous breakdown halfway through, obviously, because it was a difficult task, and we'll talk later about how you know if an artist is going to be up for the job or not. But he's a really prolific painter. He works really fast, and he works pretty small, and he's able to knock paintings like this out really fast, and obviously they look awesome. He does really great work, and so we knew he was up for the task of making 50. So the shareholders got 50 different pieces, and of course, at the pickup events, people were able to take out their paintings and say, "Oh, look what I got! It's a rabbit. It's all bloody. What did you get? Oh, I got something else that's totally different. Wow, look at that." So you can take all sorts of approaches in terms of the kind of work that is included, from multiples to addition work to unique works to manufactured, ready-made objects to work like this. This was another example of an artist named Andy Doucette. He has a really amazing show up at the Soap Factory in Minneapolis right now, if you were in town for that. But he typically works huge. He makes these really big, 4-foot drawings in these, large installations with furniture and all these sorts of things. And so you think, how is an artist like that going to participate in CSA? How is he going to be able to make 50 objects? So what he did was a particular drawing that he created specifically for this project, and he made, he had really nice copies of them made, or really nice editions of them, an edition of 50 that was done by a local printer. So, it was this way to take this kind of large-scale work that he typically does, and knock it down into a smaller format that, is able to go out to a lot of different people that would not be able to afford the, $4,000 or $5,000 that he typically charges, for his very large, drawings. So, you're looking at this and you're saying, well, are visual artists the only people that can participate in this? And the answer is not necessarily. The answer is not no, but the answer is not necessarily, because there is some wiggle room. Here are some examples of some work that we had in past shares. A duo that invited shareholders to 4 private performances with a handmade poster. So they got a handmade poster for the performances, and they were invited to come to as many of those 4 performances as they wanted. The second one was one that I liked a lot. A musician and photographer that recorded a song onto a 7-inch vinyl record with photographic prints and typewritten soup recipes in a handmade package. So you got this really beautiful package that had this 7-inch record that was a song that his band had written. It was this nice little kind of surfy instrumental that I think was called the Small Farmers March. And you had this kind of wonderful mental image of small farmers, marching across a sunny vista. Very lovely. And actually, a lot of people kind of complained about this because people were saying, "What should I do with the record?"